So I hope it's just not me that says that we need a change up in the locations and planets in the new Star Wars movies that come out, because the Disney-owned Star Wars movies have very closely aligned themselves with the original trilogy. And I think that's perfectly fine for the first couple of movies, but when it gets to Last Jedi and, with Solo also, and now with Episode 9, I feel like there needs to be a bit of change when it comes to the locations and the planets we are exploring in these new movies. Because in The Force Awakens, I understand there being planets that look exactly like the original trilogy with Jakku and Maz Kanata's, bar, like they look very much like original trilogy locations, but I feel like moving forward with the Star Wars property, the Star Wars movie franchise, we do need a mix-up of locations. And whether you love or hate the prequels, one thing you can't deny about them is that they had very distinct locations. Coruscant, Mustafar, Naboo, lots of locations feel very distinct. Kashyyyk, there's lots of locations that feel distinct, and it's not just desert, snow, and, grass region, forest region, like Endor. And I feel like I don't want Disney Star Wars movies to get, to fall into that trap of just sticking to those three locations. And with Solo, I liked it because it was a bit different, but still we had the snow planet and, all of that stuff. We had sort of the desert planet, and it just feels a bit redundant at this point. And I know that Star Wars can push for much more unique locations and planets. Now, again, with The Force Awakens, I understand because it had a goal to, basically base a lot of the movie off of the original trilogy. I get that. I get everyone excited again, and I'm bored with Disney Star Wars films. That's completely understandable. But once you get into The Last Jedi and with The Rise of Skywalker, we need some change up of locations, because the Star Wars galaxy is a wide place. I mean, we can basically go anywhere with these Disney Star Wars films. The galaxy is completely open to explore, so I hope in future material we just see more distinct locations and settings, man, because it's kind of... it's kind of upsetting that, well, not upsetting, but just disappointing that, there's no real distinct locations anymore. It's just all desert planets or forest planets trying to recapture the original trilogy, but we've already recaptured it. We've already recaptured it with, locations like Jakku and Ahch-To and, places like that recapture the original trilogy's locations. So let's try for something new. And, even Canto Bight, which, it doesn't look like a location that was in the original trilogy, but it just looks like a ripoff of, prequel locations, you know what I'm saying? With, all the CGI, aliens and whatnot, very prequel-like, I know. Even with that, people complained because it looked a lot like the prequels, which it did. Even that is ripping off the prequels. It's ripping off some... other material, and I feel like we don't want to get into the trap also of making locations feel like Earth and feel like our planet, because Canto Bight really just felt like our planet, but with aliens on it, and that's not great. Dexter's diner, that also fell into the trap of, just a normal regular diner just with a robot serving. The prequels fell into that trap as well, but the prequels also had very distinct locations. Geonosis was very interesting. Yes, that was kind of deserty, but it looked also really cool, with the Colosseum and stuff. That's really cool. And obviously Colosseums, they're from Earth, but, they made it work. They really did make it work. And, other locations as well just looked looked really cool, and there was tons of like, really cool space set pieces and stuff with really cool set designs and backgrounds for space also. Like, there was a lot of prequel material that was really good, and I'm not trying to defend the prequels here. Well, I kind of am, but I'm not meaning to. I'm just saying that the prequels had very interesting locations, and I feel like the sequel trilogy is getting into that trap of just trying to base all of their content in terms of like backgrounds and sets and the look of the sequel trilogy. They're trying to base it off of the original trilogy, which, again, it works the first couple of times, but yeah, it's getting a little too old, and I feel like moving forward after episode 9, and we're moving into this break where there's not going to be any Star Wars films for the foreseeable future. They're going to take a hiatus after 9. I feel like the artists really need to put their heads together and actually come up with some unique ideas for locations and settings to set these new films. And I don't really care so much that the sequel trilogy and like the main continuity of Star Wars films is derivative of locations seen in the original trilogy. That's not really where my main concern is, but just the offshoot movies, these sort of spin-off offshoot movies, they should go wild with locations and stuff. They should go really experimental with the offshoot movies, because that's what offshoot movies are made for, to be experimental, to be different from the original series of movies. And what's weird is that The Last Jedi was pretty experimental and pretty unique and divisive, obviously, but then the two spin-off films that we have, they're extremely sort of by the numbers, by the books, paint by numbers sort of thing, and it was micromanaged beyond belief. Rogue One and Solo, they are the most paint-by-numbers movies, and they're spin-offs. They shouldn't be spin-offs. Anyway, I don't know what I'm talking about. This is just a little ramble. I just wanted to get some Star Wars talk on my channel, and I feel like there should be more distinct locations. I'm not an artist. I can't, make up, a location that should be in the Star Wars movies. But I'm just saying, the artists and, all of, everyone on board on these new movies do need to sort of put their heads together and come up with more distinct locations, because it's getting a little old, especially with the more experimental spin-off movies. They should be experimental, and it's ironic that the more sort of, the spin-off movies are more paint by numbers than the actual sequel trilogy. It kind of boggles my mind, to be honest. But that's either here nor there, so hopefully with this break they can put their heads together and actually not only come up with a plan of action for where to take the series, and not just, have one writer write one movie and then just a completely different writer, come in and, basically pass the baton over to the other writer, and it's not really a plan. Yes, that is a slight on The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi for not having an actual goddamn plan for their movies, but whatever. Anyway, hopefully they can have a plan and also come up with distinct locations, because I'm kind of over seeing, the Tatooine type planet and the Endor type planet and, the Hoth type planet. It's kind of boring at this point. And that goes for the whole look of the new Disney Star Wars films. Like, it looks used and abused, which, that should be the look of Star Wars most of the time, but also stuff should be, elegant, and it's a whole galaxy, and I like the used and abused look of Star Wars, with A New Hope and Force Awakens and the original trilogy. But there is some stuff that shouldn't be used and abused. Stuff like in Solo, for instance, that whole location, it looked very nice. That's the type of stuff I'm talking about. Just more variety in the set design and in the look of Star Wars. That's what I kind of wants. Sorry if I'm rambling, I just need to get this off my brain because there should be more, distinct planets like Geonosis, like Naboo, like Coruscant, just a ton of other locations in the prequels. The prequels really got it right. Like, the prequels don't look great on, like, a technical level. Like, the CGI is pretty bad and it's pretty dated. Well, Episode 3, I don't think is terrible in terms of its CGI, but, like, Episode 1 and 2 in particular, just pretty damn bad and they don't age well. But in terms of just the ideas, like the visual sort of ideas put in place in the prequels and what George had in his mind about locations and whatnot, they look great, and they have great ideas in the prequels about how to go about making backgrounds and sort of planets and stuff, but the technology just wasn't there and up to snuff. But they had great ideas like Coruscant, Naboo, etc., like Mustafar, just a hell kind of like landscape. I don't know, they just had more diversity in their in their planet design and stuff. So yeah, that's gonna do it for me. Please make sure to rate, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Just comment down below what you think about the locations and the planets and the Star Wars Disney string of films. Do you think that they should have more, original planets and sets and backgrounds and stuff and settings for the upcoming Star Wars movies, or do you think they should just keep going with the whole Jakku type, like Endor type locations and just reuse stuff over and over and over from the original trilogy? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. That's gonna do it for me. Please make sure to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.